Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, we're going to tackle some Portulacaria afras. Before we get started on the PAs today, I have a bit of an announcement to make. So, I have started a podcast, and it's called Up North Bonsai. And one of my first guests on Up North Bonsai is one of my fellow YouTubers, Nigel Saunders. I had the amazing chance to interview Nigel a couple months back, and we spent over 2 hours on a Zoom call, and we talked bonsai, and we talked some more bonsai, and then we talked a little bit more about bonsai. Up North Bonsai is going to be a podcast where I'm going to interview people from all over the upper Midwest. Well, and even further north, up in Canada. So my first guest on my very first podcast is with Nigel Saunders of the Bonsai Zone. One of my mentors and one of the YouTube channels that I watch almost every day. I love watching Nigel and the progression of his trees. And usually I get up in the morning, and if I'm taking a walk or a run on my treadmill, Nigel's the first person that I'm going to catch up on, make sure I've seen his shows, and then I go on to other shows and watch. So my thanks to Nigel for being a very kind and courteous guest on the first podcast, and to give me all that time to talk about bonsai. In the coming episodes here in the early part of the year, I'm going to be showing a little bit of highlights of Nigel and my conversation, and as we work on some trees, I'm going to bring some of my conversation with Nigel. If you'd like to go to the Up North podcast, Up North Bonsai, and check it out, you can check it out on my website. So my current website is another venture that we'll talk about in future episodes, and that's called Bonsai Acres. So if you see the word Bonsai Acres, that is my nursery, my bonsai name. That is where I am going to get some soil and have soil available for people. I'm working on some trees. I've got a little plot of land. There's all kinds of fun stuff that we're going to share with Bonsai Acres. But before we do that, you can listen to Nigel Saunders from the Bonsai Zone in Up North Bonsai. So that podcast right now sits on my website, bonsaiacres.com. I, of course, will put a link down in the description, but bonsaiacres.com is the website. And when you go to More, in the More tab, you'll see podcasts, and Nigel's is the first one. It's right there front and center. Click the old podcast play button, and you'll hear my conversation with Nigel. Yeah, it was a wonderful conversation. In the meantime, though, I have a few snippets I want to share along the way. Nigel, again, was so gracious in letting me use some of the footage on my YouTube channel, and we're also got the podcast information. And so right now, let's get a couple of snippets from my conversation with Nigel Saunders from the Bonsai Zone.
It's a hobby that you've got to take with a certain degree of seriousness. I don't think it's a hobby that you can think, well, I think I'll try it out and see if I like it. And if I have success in it, then I'll maybe keep going at it. But I think you've got to, as Yoda says, do or do not. I think if you're going to do bonsai, you've got to put the effort into it and do it well. Otherwise, you are going to end up with a dead tree. Yeah, take it easy. Just learn. Start simple, free trees, join a club. It may seem intimidating at first, but you'll find people in a club, people like me who have hundreds of cuttings they want to give away of, things to practice on and things to grow into the future. And there's tons of people in the club who will give you free material, and they just love it, giving it away to someone who's starting out. There's nothing like getting experience from people in your area for your climate zone. I think it's a good thing. And you'll eventually find someone in the club that you get along really well with and make a good friend. It doesn't really matter what age you are. You can still get along with all the people because you have a common interest. Like I was just thinking Connor there. I'm twice as old as Connor, yet we still get along great and do things together. And like we said, you've got to enjoy the process of growing bonsai and watching for those small changes and just enjoying it each day at a time. And you'll really have fun and enjoy bonsai right until you grow old, and you'll miss it. When your life ends, you're going to miss your life. It's time well spent and enjoyable. look at a bonsai, I look at the future potential of it. So if you have a cutting that's a fresh cutting, it has all the potential in the world to become a world-class tree. If I look at one that's, you know, maybe a little bigger and has some strange branching in that, I think, well, it has less potential because it has a lot of defects already. And then you go into like collected trees, and sometimes they have such bad defects in them that they're never really the tree that I would be happy with, that it's always got like inverse taper or something weird that's just not attractive. And I think, well, that tree shouldn't have really been collected in the first place, because someone could make something out of it with a lot of manipulation and carving and stuff, but there's trees that should be collected maybe and some that shouldn't. I don't know. I would prefer to leave those mountain trees up in the mountains, so when someone's hiking someday, they'll go and say, oh, is that ever a cool looking tree? Yeah. I'm glad I saw that, and it made the trip up the mountain worth it.
Think about, you know, the whole climate change, and you know, the heavier and more rainfalls and the more severe droughts, and just, you know, climate change, whether people believe it or not, our earth is changing, whether it's temporary, permanent, whatever. What do you see is going to be the biggest effect of our earth warming up or changing to our bonsai trees? What are we going to have to think about in the future here?
I don't know if you remember, I think it was 2 years ago, there was a city in South Africa that had like, I think it was 20 days of water left for this big city. They ran totally dry. And I remember one of my viewers sent me an email saying he had to let his entire bonsai collection die because he couldn't afford the water, or he couldn't use the water to water them. And that made me feel really lucky that I have water that I can water my trees with. And it's always stuck in the back of my mind. And I think you're going to see, depending how bad it gets, I think you might see more of a switch to succulents and things that can store water. It can go longer periods of time without water. It could become quite an issue. You know, I don't know how fast it'll happen, but I'm pretty sure it will happen.
Yeah.
Every scientist in the world says it's happening. It can't be stopped. We can slow the curve. It's coming. And I think bonsai will always be a hobby. Hopefully not just a hobby of the rich, but if there's no water or the climate becomes warmer or hot, you've got to go to more succulent plants and ones that are from that kind of a climate.
I just watched one of the episodes from Mirai over there in Portland with Ryan Neal, and he does the some days at Mirai now. He used to be Mondays at Mirai. Now they call him some days at Mirai, and he actually said on that last episode, some days I don't know if I want to do bonsai. I mean, he actually kind of said those words. This was the hardest year in his bonsai career, trying to keep these trees cool and watered and healthy on the driest he's ever experienced. So even he is rattled by it.
Yeah, there are some cities out in BC that reached 46 degrees Celsius in the midday, which is unheard of. It's something to watch out for. It may come next summer. Who knows? Like to any of us, we could get some extremely hot weather, and it may change the way you do bonsai. You may have to, you know, instead of having them out in the benches in the summer, maybe you got to protect them in the midday heat from have a special bench that's in the shade or in the ground or something.
My thanks once again to Nigel Saunders of the Bonsai Zone. Such an incredible bonsai enthusiast, and the passion he has for what he does just explodes on camera, and it's so fun to watch his stuff, and I just can't wait for the next one, Nigel. So check out Nigel if you haven't seen Nigel yourself. If you've not, there are 185,000 YouTube subscribers who have already found him. Maybe you'll be 185,000 plus. This is the front of this tree. I believe it's that one. Yeah, I think that was the front of the tree. It's kind of a twin trunk. These are going to be merging together over time. I think there were two trees put close together. There's a little bit of a critter chew or some dieback back here, but there's still this branch here. So I'm not sure what happened back there, but you can't see it from the front. Got a little bit of a dieback right here. Cut that one off. So the trunk on this one's getting nice and woody looking. And so we're just gonna make a few cuts on this guy right here. So Where shall I start? I will start with this lower one down here. I'm going to cut off these two little branches here, these little leaves that were growing straight down. This one's also growing inside and straight down. I'm going to leave this branch in here, even though it's growing inside. I want this tree to be a little tree over here and this one to be a big one over here, right? And so I'm going to leave it for now and see if it gets a little bit bigger and taller, fills out a little bit of this negative space. So just trimming off a couple of these little ones back here. And I will cut off this one going inside. And there's a really big leaf right here. I'll just cut that one off too. So now I've got those two. So I got a couple of leaves in here that are going to continue to do something. So this is staring at us in the face. This is one of the newer buds. This is kind of coming in and it curves up on top here. I like this branch, how it's going up tall. What should I do with that one? I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut this right here. There's two branches right here. If I cut this front one off, then this one stays and it grows more in an upward direction. So we'll cut that right there and see what that does. And again, I'm going to cut this one off on the inside. And then we'll cut this one back here. So we have kind of an every other pattern. Yeah, and we'll see what that does. And then if I cut these leaves that are going down here, I can see if I want to keep that branch right there. So this branch is kind of growing right at us though, so I probably won't keep these. And these two are on very similar planes right here. This one's old and woody looking, this one's younger. It does bring the tree out more that way. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this whole front piece off right here anyway. Right there. And this could be a cutting. If I choose to keep all my cuttings. And so that opened this one that was kind of coming out and over here, and it highlights this branch right here. So I'm going to cut this one going down off, get the stump off. And then in the back here we have this one curving around. It's going to curve over here and it's kind of competing with this branch here. It's very parallel with that. So we're going to go ahead and cut this real big leaf off. So from the front again here, I think I'll cut this off here. So we're not competing here now. It didn't come out, it won't come out here and compete, and hopefully this will grow up tall, this will grow up tall, and we'll keep whatever one looks better after time. A couple of small leaves right there in the kind of the armpit of that branch, a couple facing down right here. I'll turn this around so you can see it. There, I'm trying to get this little one off right here. And if you leave a little bit of these Portulacaria branches or leaves still on, the little tiny leaves that you didn't quite cut flush, they'll just fall right off. Let's go ahead and cut this one off now. We'll leave the tip to grow so they don't compete right there. Now this one right here would shade this one out. And I don't think we need it. So we're going to cut it off. So now we have this 1, 2, 3 up here. These two kind of come from the same plane, but this one now shoots up, so I like that. We'll just cut the tip off, and we'll see how that one's going to grow. And then over here, I'm going to cut the tip off. I'm going to cut the downward facing ones off. And there we go. That one's trimmed up now too. So I don't know if I'll keep this branch long term or not, or even this one back here, but I am trying to make it a little bit more compact. I could go down and cut this and this off and leave this as the new leader. Then we'd have got a thicker trunk to thinner up here. We don't have much taper. I like how it is jetting out a little bit. This is like the father-daughter tree, father-son tree. This one's trying to maybe get its independence, moving over this way a little bit. We'll see what other buds come out of here, and we get some more back budding here. with these fresh cuts now. We'll kind of see what happens. So that one's cleaned up. So we're just cleaning up to get a little bit possible more back budding. This one didn't get too long and leggy. We've got a really nice spider web up in here. He's gonna have to find a new home, whoever was in here. So this one didn't grow ferociously thick over the course of the last couple months, but there is, you know, some leaves in here that I could cut this off right here. The inside growing leaf, the inside growing leaf. Just kind of opened up this path right in here. So this is the new growth right here. This is the old growth. So this is all since the plant room. So we cut it back. There's a couple little ones here and here that are starting to take off in here. So there's 3 or 4 branches right here trying to take off, but I'd like them more back further. But you'll notice too, this new growth is growing up towards us. So if I were to cut it back here, let's hope this one back here grows, and we cut this one going out to the front. And now this back here might grow. There's also this one here that might die back. And now we still have this thick part here. This will be hard to see on camera, but here's the growth going backwards and not frontwards. So I'm gonna cut the front off right there so it grows that way. It stops coming towards the front but grows up. There's another little one right here trying to grow. So there's 4 leaves and there's 4, 5, 6 leaves. This will hopefully keep taking off. This will take off. And I might even take that off. Not right this second. There's small leaves. I like the small leaf. But we're going to go ahead and wait. So now these two are real parallel looking, right? And so, you know, this would be nice if it was over here more. We're going to try to directionally prune it again. Here's new growth going inside. So we're going to cut that off. That's growth going inside. Okay, so that took off the inside direction. But it's still kind of cluttered right here, right? So this would shade out this down here. I have this branch right here. Why don't we just go ahead and cut that one off and leave that going here. Leave this long one down here to see where it goes. So just thinning out a little bit of the growth in here. Let more light in there. Cut this front facing little stub off. And we'll see. So I've got these 2 size branches here. I'll leave this one a little longer because it's the bottom of the tree, which means I'm gonna have to come up here and cut this off. Because it looks a little bit big now up there. And I might have to decide on some new leaders here. But before I go up there, let's do this back branch here. This back branch has one growing way back, out towards the back. I don't need that for the depth. I have the depth right there. And again, just for balancing the energy and pushing everything up, I'll cut the branches that are going down, or the leaves I should say. This one's going in towards the tree. So it is a back branch. You're looking at the front right there. It's way back here, but it adds a little bit of 3 dimension. I don't want to get rid of it yet. I will chop off this back piece right here. Again, a couple that are just facing in a weird downward angle. Cut off some stumps. Cut off that big leaf. And you know what? I'll cut off the tip right here, and we'll see if that grows upwards right there. So there we got that leaf right there. We even got some stuff back. We could get some more growth back in there. So now we're left with the top. What should we do at the top there? So it's leaning real back. We have to maybe plant it up a little bit more the next time we plant it. But this one's had some, it finally doesn't need a rock to hold it up anymore, but it was wobbly for a while there. So there's generally some taper from here up to here, but it's pretty similar size for this big stretch right here. And there's 3 branches in the back here, right? There's the main branch right here. There's this branch off to the side, and then there's this branch off to this side. What to do, what to keep. You see a long leggy growth over here. These two are kind of competing against each other here. It's kind of cluttered. So I'm going to take this one off, right there. And that probably would be a tiny, but a good cutting. These are pretty easy to just put into your recycled bonsai soil, and you're good to go. So that frees up a little bit of the look of the tree there. And again, if we put this up more like this next time, give it a little bit less of that slant backwards and more straight up and down as it slants to the right. We have this really fun branch back here that if you could see it, it's kind of neat, right? But it is being blocked by this big one up front. So we have this new growth here and here and here. I'm going to leave all that on, but right here this comes up and splits into 2. Is that the leader? Am I going to make this the leader? Do I make stuff back here the leader? This one's crossing way back here, so I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to cut the one going down off, and I'm going to shorten it to this one right here. So now that one's real short, kind of goes up and over and around and over, so I got nice movement on that branch. We'll see what it does long term here. Cut this downward facing leaf off. There is a branch going down in the back here. I'll cut it off. It was down in here. So right in here, there's this branch growing on the inside here that I don't think it's really doing much for me, but clogging it up in there. So that gives some more space in here. And then we have the older, more mature branch going up this way. This is the younger, new one, and it's growing over this way, not just at our face. So I kind of still like it. It kind of comes over and comes up this way. So let's cut off this section right there. And we see some movement. I can cut the downward facing leaves off. And then you can see that branch going up and over this way. And then right here, parallel with this, there's these new branches over here trying to grow. I'm just going to cut those off so they're not competing. And then this one's growing right out at us, which competes for a little bit of view with that. So we'll cut that off. A couple of big downward ones over here. One growing inside right there. So do I leave these grow back in towards this here and come up this way, or do I leave this one growing way out over here? I will shorten it up regardless. Yeah, just a couple of leaves here to thin things out. Here's an old stub. There's the old prune stub, I should say. Got all these leaves super congested up here because that's the highest point where all the light's getting towards it. Again, downward facing leaves. This one back here is growing down low. We'll see if that does anything. So I'm just going to leave that up there right now. To see where these kind of take off and grow. So it just looks like a nice top right there. If I shorten that up right here. I kind of want to shorten this up right here. Let this one grow up here if it does, or this inside one here take off. So this branch is kind of hidden from that front view. You can't really see this one back here, but it could be a branch we'll save for later. So I almost have this asymmetrical kind of triangle shape here. If I were to cut this a little bit shorter and this a little bit shorter, I'd have that triangle shape, kind of that conical shape of this jade. Not that our jades are growing that way very often, but I think we've aired this thing out nice, so we can just kind of see what's going to grow in. I of course could make a really big cut and cut off this branch right here down to this junction where this branch comes off over here, and this could become the new leader. And again, if we plant it up, you'd be able to see a nice division from 1 to 1, 2 right here and here, and get rid of all this mess up in the front, and then we see what happens. But I like how it fills the tree a little bit there. I do like how it's taller here and goes back down here towards this father-daughter type tree. Because I've thinned this tree out as much as I have, I almost want to cut this down back to here, so I think I will. So now this is a little bit tinier of a tree, so you know, this is almost, you know, an older brother instead of father and a son, because this is getting pretty thick right here. So cut off some of that vigor on top, and we'll see what comes back and how these branches act here in the new growing. So let's leave it at that. The first Portulacaria afra is complete. Next up, we have the slanting tree, which is getting pretty thick down below here. All right. So this is looking windswept over that way, which is kind of a neat design for the Portulacaria here. I could keep that growing and get that windswept look to continue. But again, look at how thick this branch is right now. So we have this trunk that goes up, splits here really nicely, and this is real thick up here. So I almost want to bring that back into check there, because this is just taken over as such a big tree, and it makes it almost look top heavy there. And this branch right here, is it too much in our face still? Look at this branch, it's growing way in there. I think we just need to bring this one down to size. It's got some good taper there though. If I cut it off here, it comes up this way and goes that way. So that thinned that out a little bit here. So if I don't cut it all the way off, I can leave it there. And if I cut that off, it'll maybe grow back up now. It's got a little bit of a wound right here from the last cut. So that would need a little bit of healing over time. But there is another branch down here that could take off. And this is all new right here. This branch right here is new since the plant room. So I'm not sure if we're going to keep that one there or not, but I'll cut off that branch and that, or that leaf and that leaf and that leaf, and we'll cut off the tip at least. There's a leaf way in there, so that cleans up that section a little bit there. So we got this kind of one that goes to 2. Okay, goes down here and comes up here. Real thick up there, and this kind of little thin section here that's not looking great at the moment. Another downward facing leaf right there. This one's towards the camera, so we can show off the branch a little bit more if I go that way. We got a really big leaf over here we're just going to cut off. And you'll notice I've got this nice curvy branch back over here, but this is crossing in front of it. So that's a branch from lower down. So if we cut all of this one off, be a nice little cutting there with some angles there, and then the tree would all be back over here. And I have to be careful because this wide split here, this tree, it's great movement, but is it going to be too much? If I were to take this away, Got a fun tree up there. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's get rid of this one. Big cut. Big cut. Put this in the ground. And get a big old cutting out of that one. This could grow some new branches. The branch that comes off right here right now, this is the new branch now. It's got a little tiny growth in the back we'll just clean up. And so if you can see, it has this low branch way down here, which gives it some texture behind all this. We'll cut that one off. We'll cut this shorter. Cut those shorter. So now we've really cut this tree down. We'll have to see what this healing process does for this part that I just cut off. So we just cut a big chunk of that down, really thinned it out. So again, when you're looking at a tree, if your trunk isn't as thick as you want it, you just keep cutting it back, letting it grow, cutting it back and letting it grow. And now we got this one smaller. Now again, I have this branch kind of competing with these two back here, but it is kind of left, center, right now. We'll just kind of let them go for the moment and see what they do. And if I thin this out here and thin this out here and take off this stump right there, yeah, we may end up taking this whole one out back here, or the one back here out. Or as it gets older, maybe we just, let's get rid of this one. There we go. We'll just see what happens here. Cut that tip off. Downward facing, downward facing. There, we trimmed that up really quite a lot. So now that takes away our sweeping look, but I don't care about that. It sweeps automatically. And we got a lot of clutter up here. So we're going to cut this branch off. And again, everything's kind of going that way, but this one's so thick. This could become our new leader if we cut this off right here, and then we have this kind of nice swoop up here. See this movement up here? And then we have this branch that'll get thinner if I cut it off. We keep this length of it right here. I think it's getting too thick up there. I think we have to make this our new leader. So again, this one leans to the back a little bit, so next time I might have to put it up a little bit more up like this. And right now, we have this right in front of us, but I'm going to leave it there because it gives us some texture going up the trunk. I'm going to cut this one back here that grows into the tree. I'm going to leave that back one. This is growing back at us. I don't mind that. I'm just going to trim it up a little bit. Low branch, low. They're going down. That's what I'm trying to say. Clean that up. Cut that one off there. I'm just going to cut this off right here because it's so thick. It's so big. Hopefully that'll heal up really nice. And we'll just get rid of this in the back over there. So just getting some of the bigger leaves out of the way so you can kind of see the structure of the branches here. Got some big leaves and two little ones coming in right after it. We just take that big one off. Let the little ones do their thing. So it's kind of coming, this one's kind of growing back at us, but might fill up this area here and here again now. And now we have the top of the tree. So we have one that goes into 1, 2, 3, and there's a fourth one trying to grow here. There's this one going way back here from this one. Well, that's just going to come off right about here. And then I don't like this one going straight out to the right, so it's gone. There we go. And this has got to be shorter. We're going to cut this down one off. Cut that off. There's a stub right there. We'll cut that off. So this splits into two right here and here. So this stump will go. We can cut this much of it off right now, and we'll just leave it for later. There we go. So we have a nice division here coming up and here coming up, and then our tree is up here. So this tree has changed design quite drastically, which is okay, because it's still a fun looking little tree. Just got a little thick and real top heavy with all these real big thick branches. I cut this big thick branch off, so now it's still thick here, but now this becomes the leader. We might even cut this whole branch off one day and let this one come around here and make a poof over here. We'll see with time. Maybe something's going to come out right here and grow. If I get a couple of back buds back here and here, we'll be able to start a new design of this tree yet. And we got the new apex up here with these little branches over here. I'm not crazy about this one right here still with this nice thick branch back here. But I either cut this branch completely off right there, which looks pretty fine to me. If I cut this off right here, these go way back that way, so it's not very good from the design standpoint. This is kind of a nice fun zigzaggy branch right there. So I could cut this off. I'm just not going to do it today, because then it would make this a very, look at that, look how flat the tree is right there. So this gives it some depth right now. We would like some more things to come up here to fill up this tree perhaps. But it is this weird, interesting slant tree. If we bring it up more like this next time, we can do all kinds of things with it. So, Portulacaria Afra #2. We are all set up to finish the PA work today with the forest of 3. Now, I don't consider this to be a forest long term. These might become individual trees very, very soon. I have a whole bunch of cuttings that I think later on in the summer of this year, I'm going to put together a couple of PA forests and take out some of my big trees and make them individual trees and start some new forests. But in the meantime, we'll prune this up one more time here in the middle of January. And we'll see if we can pick out some branches here to continue the life of this forest of 3. Again, we have a fun little leaning one. It leans back right now. This one's kind of leaning back right now. So everything leans back with these PAs for me. I'm not sure why. But I'll come up to the front. We'll take a peek at this tree. So as 3 trees go, it's not a bad looking little mini forest. Not too bad. We do have some leaves that have been falling off this guy. It's gone through a couple of dry spells. It's not as humid back there in that greenhouse kind of part of my plant room back there at the fish tank. So it's been a little bit drier than normal. So I've lost a few leaves because of that and the shift in weather, but I've been keeping them watered now, and this is really super dry again, so we'll water this one when we put it back on the benches with the other ones. So, forest, we got a little critter chop down here. So don't know how that's going to affect this tree in the long run. So we might have to consider that as the front moving forward. So I'm going to keep that in mind here as I build this work on this tree right now. And as I look at it, I love the movement here, and I don't mind the branch structure. I don't know what's going to happen with this tree. I should like a little bit more growth down below here, some back budding. So I'm not sure which ones we're going to keep. I might take this whole branch off. A lot of these are competing right now against each other. You know, this one comes out too much at us. And this is real thick, but I got this real nice thick young growth right here. And this one has this real thick, non-tapering trunk all the way down. That could become another nice leaning tree on its own. I guess the biggest thing that bothers me is this branch right here. It's so tall and thick and thicker than all of these right here. It is the apex of the tree, but I wonder if we take that down and make this the new apex and cut this one off. Got a new branch growing out here for this branch to curve over that way. So I think I'll cut it here, just make it shorter. I think I'm going to cut this here to make it shorter, because I got these two growing up. And talk about taper there, boom, boom. I probably don't want that one. Well, that could be a branch though one day. And this one's long and jaggy with nothing on here. I'm going to cut that right there. This comes way back from this tree over here, so we're going to cut that off. We'll cut this shorter here. I'm just going to cut this one all the way off in favor of this one right here. Just cut the tip off, so as a matter of fact, let's just cut that off. We've got a new branch growing right there already, so let's just use that branch. This may come off completely one day, but let's just keep that little one for now. So it looks really off on this side. It's hard to see through the camera, but I'm almost thinking this might be a good front if I take it out of here one day, or of course something like this and we get rid of this branch right here. So we don't know what this one's going to do in the future. So we're just going to cut it up here, let new growth happen, get it good and healthy, and we'll make some of those decisions in the summertime. Some thick, big branch, big leaves up here, soaking up too much energy. Downward facing ones. And again, a lot of this is just going to be thinning out now, so I can see what's going on, almost like a defoliation. So now this one grows up here and has this weird T right there. But if I change the front of this tree someday, in the near future, just making these shorter. Regardless of what the front is going to be on this tree here, it's thick, thick, thick right here. There's not much taper. There's a bar branch here. There's a bar branch here. At least that's got to go. And then it can grow that way, movement that way. And then there's a little taper there now. Kind of a bar branch there. You see all this growth right here? Just kind of growing back on itself. Doesn't know which one it wants to grow. There's a couple there. We'll see. A couple of little ones you can barely see, like right there, starting to push out. So a lot of back button happening on this one. This grows inside. So let's cut that off. We'll just leave that bush there for right now. Cut off the bottom. And cut off this one right here. And this is bushy. We'll cut off the bottom. Get the old stump off. Actually, we're going to cut it shorter to this one. Now let's cut this side off. It's got this movement up this way. And this stuff back here. I'm not sure what's going on with this branch right here. This one looks like it's pretty weak. There's a little tiny bud trying to grow right here. But we got two chew marks right there. I think I'm just going to cut this one off. I think that one was just not in a good way. You know, they did take off some of the character of the tree, but this is where we have this chop up front. So this might be a new tree that's right here. And then we're just going to keep like this branch and these two branches here and cut off this back one anyway. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here with the new growth after we gave it this little trim here in January. We'll give this thing some water too, back on the bench here in the plant room. So my biggest thing I didn't cut was this guy right here. I've got this thick trunk down here. It's pretty thick up to here, a little thinner here, and now this really thin part here. So there's taper, but I might be cutting this whole branch off one day and making this the new leader and then getting rid of this one too, or lower or something. So we've got this nice movement up over here, then over here, then it's going to grow up this way hopefully. Or this could become a leader if we twist the tree around, or it splits right there and this is the front back here. If we look at it like right like that, it's kind of hard to see through this tree right here. So we'll put it back on the plant room benches, and we'll think about it and see what the new growth does. Quick peek at all the cuttings there to the right that I cut off, and all the ones I might put into some soil in a couple of days. It's been a minute since I've done a little bit of work on one of my trees here, so it's really nice to work on the PAs. I want to send another special thank you out to Nigel Saunders for letting me spend a couple of hours with a Zoom call with him. We got some great footage, some great conversation, and I'll be sharing more of our time together in upcoming editions here of Dave's Bonsai. And again, check the link on the description here of this show, right at the description area. You can find the link to my website, which is bonsaiacres.com. Bonsaiacres.com, where you can go to the podcast section. The podcast tab is located in the more information section, and listen to the podcast in its entirety. So that's one way to get some good information from Nigel, and then we'll also share some great stuff with the Dave's Bonsai episodes. More to come for sure. So if you are growing trees in the upper Midwest, anywhere in the upper Midwest, I think you'll get a lot of good nuggets from Nigel and from upcoming podcasts. And if you're not, you can apply, of course, the techniques to where you're living and where your microclimate is. So that's the big focus for this podcast, is to talk about all of our microclimates and how they affect our trees. So I hope you tune in, check it out, and we've got more stuff to come with Nigel Saunders with the Up North Bonsai podcast, and we have an update on the bonsai pot tank very, very soon. What's happening with the pot that's sitting right over there? That's all we have for today. So hey, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we'll catch you all very, very soon.